Hey sportsman, John Bergsman here with this week's video report. Don't go anywhere because this report is packed with inland lake walleye reports. It's got all kinds of fun stuff going on. Now we're going to start with Captain Eric Long on Lake St. Clair with pretty much every species on the lake just jumping in the boat. And then we're going to jump a little north and we're going to head up to Sheboygan. Now the bite on Mullet Lake is going well for walleyes. We got Captain Brian Bice from To Be Caught Charters, who's got several reports in this report here today. The first one on Mullet Lake. Then of course we're going to run over the bridge. I'm here today. In the background you see beautiful waters of the lower St. Mary's. We're here with John Goebel from Customized Charters here on Drummond Island. Guys, one of the most beautiful places in North America, Drummond Island. Then we're going to, after we give you that great walleye report on the lower St. Mary's, we're going to come back across the bridge. We're going to talk about an awesome bite going on Lake Leelanau for inland lake walleyes there. Then we're going to slide over to Houghton Lake. We're going to talk to Randy Cornell from Karma Sport Fishing about the awesome bite that's going on Houghton Lake. And we're going to end the day in the Muskegon area with Brian Bice again, talking about the awesome fishing going on the Muskegon Lake system. Just all kinds of inland lake walleye fishing going on. Stay tuned. 6 great reports here on the Fisherman's Digest Hot Bites Report. So starting out today on Lake St. Clair with Captain Eric Long from Longline Sport Fishing. Now Eric tells me basically the lake is on fire. Every single species is going well. So if you want tips, if you're going in your own boat of where to locate them, it seems like the fish are really relating to the channel edges or the deeper water on the American side of Lake St. Clair. So when we talk about channel edges, Eric is trolling big cranks like bandits or spoons right along the channel edges themselves to catch those walleye and occasional smallmouth. Now if you're going to target smallmouth specifically, Eric suggests you get right on that channel edge and that first couple hundred yards at the top of the roll onto the flat, casting tubes. And a lot of guys do a controlled drift there on Lake St. Clair, which means they're going to have a controlled drift and they're going to cast out sideways to the drift on a 90. And once they get that tube to sink, use a heavy enough tube like a 1/2 ounce tube to get to the bottom, then you're kind of hop dragging it back to you. As the boat itself slides along, it'll swing in back behind you and you should be fine. So that's kind of the bite for the smallmouth bass. Now if you're going to target perch, not only Eric but the guys, my friends Nick Garantakis as well as Anthony, have been catching fish in deeper water for perch. Now that perch bite is really heating up in that 19, 20, 21 foot depth in the deeper basin areas of Lake St. Clair. Now the best bite there has been emerald shiners and perch pounders in either the lime green, the yellows, or the salmon orange. Those 3 colors of perch pounders have been the best. Obviously you adjust your weight with perch pounders to the day. In other words, when it's wavier, you might need to go up to a 1 ounce weight, even in 19 or 20 foot. When it's not as wavy, you can drop that down to a 1/2 ounce. You just want enough weight to be able to lift that sinker and put a small bend in the tip of a soft rod so that you can see that take. But emeralds are a great bait there. And if you can't get the right minnows, you can always take raw shrimp and cut it into strips, and those fish will really bite raw shrimp as well. But Lake St. Clair on fire for pretty much everything that's in the lake.
Midwest Steel Carports is Michigan's premier steel building manufacturer. We manufacture and install custom steel buildings throughout Michigan. Our engineer-certified steel buildings are fully tailored to fit your every need, and our up to 40-year warranty protects your investment. From residential storage sheds to commercial warehouses, let our team work with you to find your ideal building. For more information and pricing, visit MidwestSteelCarports.com.
Hey guys, so the next bite of the day, it's up in the Sheboygan region and we're on Mullet Lake. Now, Captain Brian Bice from To Be Caught Charters tells me that he has got an awesome bite going on there. trolling in a very unique way. Now, there's a lot of different ways you can troll there. You can troll with crankbaits, you can troll with spinner harnesses, and you can also troll with butterfly blades. Now, a Northland butterfly blade comes with a slow death hook, and Brian has elected to fish that way for the last week or so with some really, really good success. Now, if you watched last week's report, you'll know that we went out of Tawas and fished with those same Northland butterfly blades and slow death hooks. So this is something that some people are starting to really take hold of. It's a real subtle presentation. Those butterfly blades are extremely light. They're not metal, they're plastic, so they don't have a sink factor. So when you set a depth on them using whether it's lead core or snap weights or anything, they don't contribute to the drop at all. So they're really solid in what depth they run at. Now, Brian was concentrating his efforts on 21 to 31 feet of water. It seemed like that band of water, of overall water depth, was what was holding the fish well. Going slow, of course, a butterfly blade is a slow presentation. 1.2 to 1.4 seems to be the best. And when you put those slow death hooks on, you'll notice that hook has a real funky bend to it. So make sure you're really stringing that crawler all the way up and over the knot. That'll help it from sliding down. Now, there's a mixed bag of thinking when it comes to slow death. Do you pinch the tail off, or do you leave the whole crawler on? I've seen it done either way. Just remember this: when you're fishing with a slow death rig and you see your tattle flag on your offshore board bounce a little bit like it's the beginning of a hit, be ready on that rod to open that bail and let that board drop back. I found that your hookup percentage goes way up when you're willing to drop that board back 10 or so feet when you see that initial little tell on the tattle flag for the bite. So slow death rigs and butterfly blades, you might have to order them online if your tackle store doesn't have them. If they don't have them, tell them to call up Northland Tackle and get those butterfly blades in stock, because the more I fish with them, the more it seems like those things really catch fish. So up there right now in the Sheboygan region on Mullet Lake, we got a good bite going, trolling cranks, spinners, or Northland butterfly blades.
You always get the best at Beck's Trailer Superstore, the nation's largest trailer dealer. With over 1,500 trailers on 45 acres, you won't find a better selection anywhere. Whether you're looking for an open or enclosed trailer for work or play, you'll find the perfect trailer at Beck's. We have flexible financing options through several national and local lenders to offer the most competitive rates and payments from only $69 per month with approved credit. For the best selection of quality trailers at unbeatable prices, call 888-SAVE-BECKS or visit BecksTrailerStore.com.
So hey, today's report is my personal report, and we're trying now that I'm on the road every week with our videographer and associate editor Brett, we've just got a lot more ability to bring you live reports from myself on a weekly basis. Well, the water behind you there is the lower St. Mary's River dumping out into the greater Drummond Island area and on into Lake Huron. Today we fished with Captain John Goebel from Customized Sport Fishing, one of the best northern Michigan guides anywhere. The thing I love about John is that he's not just a one-dimensional fisherman. John can fish crankbaits, he can fish spinner rigs, he can cast shiver minnows, he can cast jigs and minnows or jigs and plastics. He's real diverse. There's a lot of different bites going on. Of course, in the spring and fall, he's going to have you on those big perch that come into the Drummond Island area. But today, we caught walleye. Now, the walleye he's been catching here in the midsummer are on gravel bars, so you can get them one of two ways. You can either cast shiver minnows at them, or you can drag crankbaits or crawler harnesses over top of those gravel bars. But whichever you choose, just make sure you follow 3 keys. Use your Garmin Panoptix Live Scope. One of the things that John has on his beautiful guiding boat, which is a big 208 Warrior, is that he's got that Garmin Live Scope on the front, because it's very important that you can scan those bars to see those individual fish, so you're not just showing up at a gravel bar and casting aimlessly. You want to know where those fish are at. You want to get that cast close enough to them to get them to race over there and just go ahead and grab that bait. And the same thing is true with side imaging. When you're trolling on those bars, you want to be able to look to the side and see those fish shadows. You want to know that you're fishing where there's some fish. And back in the old days, before we had this technology, you just showed up at a bar and you pulled it a couple, 2, 3 times, and if you didn't catch anything, you assumed there was no fish there and you went to the next space. Not here, not now. In today's world, we can make a quick cruise off the edge of that bar in deeper water, looking at the side of that gravel bar, and we can actually physically see, oh, we got 1, 2, 3 fish on it. We'll go ahead and set up, whether we're casting or trolling, to be able to attack that. That's the new way people attack these really clean water circumstances. And it's super important because, let's face it, St. Mary's River is cold and it's clean. That's the two things it always almost is: cold water and clean water. So you really have to be able to see those fish on your electronics. If you're looking to come up here with your own boat, make sure you pay attention to those rules and pay attention to our fishing report, because John's constantly giving reports. Every 2 weeks we've got a new Drummond Island report. And so crankbaits, crawler harnesses on top of gravel bars, or casting shiver minnows on the side of these gravel bars. And these gravel bars are all the way from the lower Muskegon area all the way to the mouth past Drummond Island. There's literally gravel spots all over the place to have this presentation work for you. So check it out on your own, or more importantly, learn from one of the best. Give John a call, get up here with 2 or 3 people, and spend a day on the water and learn from John on how to catch these awesome Drummond Island walleye.
Anglerquest Pontoons, family owned and operated, built by fishermen for fishermen, with all of the fishing features you need and models designed for specific species. With plenty of room and a center console, Anglerquest Pontoons are the ideal boat for the fisherman and the family man. For more information, check us out at www.anglerquestpontoons.com or on Facebook and Instagram at Anglerquest Pontoons.
So next report is an awesome report again from Brian Beist. He went out for just a single day, a morning and afternoon trip with a few guys that really are into casting for walleyes. The lake was Lake Leelanau up in the Traverse City region, and Brian told me that he had 35 keepers between the 2 trips. Well, that's an amazing, amazing day. And how were they doing it? Well, they were targeting cabbage weed beds, and they were casting them power fishing with either jerk baits or things like casting a jig in plastic. So I'll give you a couple of my favorite. I do that same thing Brian does. I love jerk bait or power fishing. So we're going to talk a little bit here about either a 200 or a 300 Strike King. You want it in a real natural color up on Leelanau. Super clean water. So that whitish one with the little yellow stripe on the back, a 200 or a 300. When do you use which? Well, a 300 is a bigger lipped bill, so it's going to dive a lot deeper. So a lot of it is you looking at the weed beds you're on and seeing how much water you have over top of them. If you've got a couple, 2-3 feet of water and then you're running into cabbage, then I would suggest the 200 series, which doesn't dive as deep. If you've got 5-6 feet of water over the tops of the cabbage, or you're working deep edges, which you could do at the same time with some guys casting toward shore, and sometimes some guys casting out in front of the boat on a deep edge of that weed bed, you could actually have the same 2 different jerkbait styles working very, very well. But that's really how you choose the jerkbait: a natural color on Leelanau, and how much water do you have over top of your weed beds. Now, another way you can really effectively fish is with a Strike King Rage Swimmer, just a plastic. I love to throw either the 3 1/4 or the 3.75 at this time of year in the summer. Those 2 sizes seem to be really good. Again, super natural. I prefer to go to like a white or an AYU is the color. Or KVD Magic is another great color for that type of a watercolor. up in that greater Traverse City region, white AU or KVD Magic are all going to work really good for swim bait colors. 325, 375. Now, if we're going to talk to you 2 months from now in the fall, we might be throwing 5-inch swim baits because those walleyes get super aggressive. But you're going to put them on the proper size squadron jig head. I like the plain lead-headed one. I don't like a painted jig head at all. I like the plain lead-headed one. And typically, you're throwing it on braid with a fluorocarbon leader, and you're ripping it. You know, you're going into those weeds and you're ripping it along the top, really popping it aggressively. Those walleyes will, as the jig falls, they'll smack it. When you go back to the rip, the fish will just be there. So it's similar to jerkbait fishing, but with plastics. I'd always suggest people do it at the same time to see which one is better. In other words, don't have everybody casting jerkbaits or everybody casting plastics. Have a guy or two doing each so that you figure out which is happening. One tip, guys, not every cabbage patch has walleyes. Where you catch a fish, make lots of casts there because there's likely to be quite a few more fish there. Walleyes work in these cabbage patches in groups and schools, and so you can go to a cabbage patch and catch nothing, and you can go to the next one and catch 3, 4, 5 fish. And don't be frustrated with shorts. Shorts are a couple of years from now's good fish. Take them off carefully, release them really carefully as well, because Leelanau has got lots of short fish in it right now, and that bodes well for the future, but treat them really, really carefully. Hey, but get up there to the Traverse City region, to Lake Leelanau, and try this jerkbait power plastic fishing. I think you'll have a great time.
Don't spend another season breaking your back using 5-gallon gas cans to fuel your toys. The Flo-Fast portable fluid transfer system is your solution. A great tool for fueling your ATVs, snowmobile, boat, garden tractor, and more. Flo-Fast eliminates gas sloshing on you and your machines, plus works in reverse to pull unused fuel from your equipment at the end of each season. The pump transfers from container to container in seconds and moves up to 8 gallons a minute. Log on to flofast.com for a dealer near you.
So hey guys, let's jump back to Houghton Lake. You know, a lot of guys always want a good report on Houghton Lake, and so we're going to try to bring that to you here going forward, at least once a month, if not more. And Houghton Lake's bite right now continues to be a two-fisted bite if you're looking for walleyes. So the first one is leech rigs, single hook spinner harnesses with a leech hooked on. And fishing those in that 11 to 13 foot range of the overall water depth. You're just pushing away. As the weeds thicken, what you'll find you have to do is just keep pushing to the outer edge of those weeds to make them manageable. Now, leech rigs pulled slowly will go through pretty good amount of weeds, but there does get to that point in time where you just have to say, listen, too much is too much. So rather than try to fish here, we're just going to go ahead, go a little deeper, let those weeds thin out a little bit. Those seem to be the areas where guys are catching the most fish. Now, the leech rig pulled behind an offshore board works really good. I like to use the regular standard size offshores with a tattle flag. That'll give you a little assistance of knowing when you've got a fish on, maybe a smaller fish as well. Don't be afraid to pull those through a pretty good amount of weeds before you bring it in and check it. Those single hook leech rigs go through pretty well with an 1/8 ounce bullet sinker out in front. Now, the sets seem to be about 25 to 35 foot behind the board, run at 1.4 miles an hour. That seems to be the ticket right now. Now, if you want to try crankbaits, slide a little further away from the weeds so it cleans up completely and get out to that 15, 16, 17 foot range and still being in proximity to where there's weeds, and you're going to find walleyes on flicker shads or flicker minnows. Seems like the perch colored ones are working the best, just a real natural inland lake color like perch. White is also a really good color, and also the flash purple with the flash crushed side with a purple top. That's also been a good lure. again, number 7 flicker shad, number 5 or 7 flicker minnow, even a number 9. I don't go bigger than a 9 on inland lakes too often. It seems like you just don't get as many bites, especially with those 15 to 18 inch fish. But if you're trolling those, you're going to want to bump that speed up, guys. You're going to want to be going 2.2, 2.3 miles an hour. It's midsummer. You've got mid-70s water temperature, so that fishing is going to have to be more aggressive when you're pulling crankbaits. But right now, Houghton Lake still kicking up good numbers of walleyes on spinners with leeches and with flicker minnows or flicker shads. And if you're looking for the right leech rig right now, it seems like the ones over at H&H Fireworks made by Matt Peterson have been working great. I like the purples. Purples seem to have been the best color for me all year long on leech rigs, so check them out.
Freeway Sports Center is Southeast Michigan's fishing boat headquarters. Freeway carries the full line of Anglerquest fishing pontoons and polar craft boats, powered by Honda outboard engines. Stop by our showroom today at US 23 and Thompson Road in Fenton, or visit us online at freewaysports.com. Spring, summer, fall, or winter, get to Freeway Sports Center.
So hey, last stop of the day, we're on Muskegon Lake, and Muskegon Lake's got a great bite going on. I talked to Captain Brian again, that's basically his home lake. He fishes there a lot, that and White Lake up in Montague. And he tells me that there's just a really solid bite going on right now on Muskegon Lake for good eater-sized fish during the daytimes, as well as some bigger fish at night. So the two-fisted pattern is this, and you'll have to give this a try. And this has been the theme of this whole report. Guys, when you're talking about inland lakes, you're always going to be talking about weeds. So you've got to figure out a way to fish in and around weeds if you're going to be an effective walleye guy. So we've got two opportunities in the weeds. We've got the single hook leech rigs that we've talked about in the last report, and we'll add to that the butterfly blade, that Northland butterfly blade. Brian's been doing really well pulling that 1.2 to 1.4 miles an hour in those 10 to 14 foot weeds that are on the break edges there on Muskegon Lake. Now, again, not every single area has fish, so you'll have to pull a good distance when you catch walleyes in the weeds. Be sure you wheel around and go through that specific area, 100, 200, 300, 400 yard stretch multiple times, because typically those schools of walleyes will move through the weeds slowly, and when you encounter one, you can usually grab a couple, 2, 3, or you'll get doubles. So fish in the weeds, 10 to 14 foot of waters with single hook leech rigs or butterfly blades on slow death. The butterfly blades are still on slow death. If you're looking for some bigger fish, you can go out and check those same shoreline breaks, but a little further out. And you'll want to pull those with crankbaits, whether it's a number 9 flicker minnow or a bandit. I wouldn't go to a bandit just yet. I'd probably run flicker minnows, 9s and 11s out on Muskegon Lake. You know, natural colors, you're going to be fishing them at night, and you're going to be fishing just outside where the weeds start to taper off. So that might be 15, 16 foot of water. Slow troll them. That dusk into the dark period up to midnight seems to be really good. You'll want to bump your speed up there, though, when you're crank and trolling, maybe a 1.7, 1.8, all the way up to 2. You don't want to get ripping too fast when you're night fishing. That is the only difference. Normally in the summer, I'm going 2.2 to 2.3, except when I'm night fishing. I'm still going to use a slower wobble. That's why I'm not going to pull a flicker shad at night. Why? Because it's too tight of an action that requires you to go too fast to get it to work right. You'll want to go to that flicker minnow or a bandit or something, a much slower forward lip action that'll work really good at 1.7, 1.8, 1.9. That seems to be how you're choosing the baits. And again, you know, bait choice is always a preference based on confidence. If it's me, I'm going to be using something with purples on it. I'm going to be using some fire tigers. I'm going to be using something with some whites and fluorescents on it. That's just the way I choose baits. And then I react to which ones are getting the hits. But Muskegon Lake has been a bite basically all year. We're going to try to keep you on top of it and educate you, so whether you go out in your own boat and give it a whirl, Or if you get frustrated, you can call Brian at To Be Caught Charters. He'll get you out on the boat. You'll have a great charter. You'll catch a bunch of great fish for eating, and you'll learn a little something about Muskegon Lake. Well, guys, sorry, that was action-packed, but I'm trying to be more detailed. And in the future, what you're going to see is not because I'm not sponsored by Northland Tackle. I'm not sponsored by Matt Peterson's single hook leech rigs. None of these people don't sponsor me. These are just great products that work. Berkeley doesn't sponsor me. I talk about flicker shads all the time. Bandit doesn't sponsor me. I talk about bandits all the time. It's not always about getting paid to talk about something. Sometimes a report has to just be about what's really working right now, and we want to educate you and we want to tell you what works. Hey, when we talk about spoon fishing, obviously we talk about Dreamweaver. Why? Because that's what works for me. Why? Because that's what I have tied on. It's a confidence thing. So that's what you need to do as a fisherman. You need to gain confidence in certain products so that when you go out there, you're sure that you've got what you want down there and you catch fish. So we hope you stay with us. If you need detailed reports past this, jump onto fishermansdigest.com. Click the fishing report tab. You've got all these reports we just talked about that you can print right off and have the exact recipe for going and catching fish. The other thing you should be doing is setting your DVR. We have a weekly television show, Fisherman's Digest Destination Outdoors, statewide. In your local area, it's on. Trust me, it's on every area of the state. That show is worth taping and watching because in the third segment, we have a fishing report there that is absolutely relevant. It was filmed literally days before that weekend show was aired. So we'll help you find great spots to fish. We'll help you find great products to fish with that'll put fish in your boat. Until then, we'll see you next week here on the Fisherman's Digest.